Barbara Nissman, and I am speaking to you from my music studio here in beautiful Greenbrier County, West Virginia. And how I wish we could all be together in the concert hall, and hopefully that will happen very soon. But in the meantime, I've been rehearsing and preparing for my Beethoven recordings. We're planning to record 8 more sonatas in a weekend. It's going to be like running a marathon, and I thought I would share with you one of his most dramatic sonatas today. Now, this sonata is nicknamed the Tempest, but this was not a nickname that Beethoven gave to this sonata, and now we can't even blame the publisher for this nickname, because it was a result of a question that Beethoven's private secretary asked him. His secretary, Schindler, said to the maestro, "Maestro, what is this sonata about?" And Beethoven said to him, "Go read the Tempest." Now, there's also a question as to which play Beethoven was referring to. Did he mean Shakespeare's Tempest, or was he talking about another author that he was very fond of, a German author who wrote a similar title? So we'll never know the answer to that, but of course this is the way nicknames get acquired. But when you hear the sonata, you'll understand the nickname, because that first movement is so dramatic. It sounds like a tumultuous storm in the making. And I have to say that this sonata in 3 movements was written in 1802, and this was the same year that Beethoven wrote his Heiligenstadt Testament. Now, this was the letter that he wrote from the town of Heiligenstadt, addressed to his 2 brothers, and it was only found actually 25 years after Beethoven's death, where he's finally acknowledging in writing his deafness and apologizing for his perceived bad behavior. But he says, nobody could understand, because I can't tell people that I'm deaf when my ears are supposed to be my greatest asset. It's a very touching letter. At times it sounds like a suicide letter, but we realize that it's really a letter of resignation, where he has come to terms and accepted the fact that he was waiting for a cure, but he realizes there probably will not be a cure for his deafness. It'll probably keep getting worse. But he acknowledges that he realizes his mission in life, that he has to keep producing as best he can and leave these works behind. This is what he is supposed to do. It's a wonderful letter that I really suggest you read, and it will shed light on the greatness and the genius and the courage and strength of this composer. Now, the Tempest Sonata in D minor is a sonata in 3 movements, and it really comes out of that middle period where Beethoven was really exploring the instrument. And as you will hear, and as I have always said, Beethoven never wrote for the piano, he wrote beyond the instrument. And you can imagine why his piano has so many broken strings. We've seen photos of that, because his piano wasn't big enough. And even if Beethoven had had this modern day Steinway, he'd still be breaking strings, because his oral vision goes way beyond, I think, what the piano can do. And this, of course, is the challenge for the pianist. And I read a quote of his recently where he says about this sonata, "The piano must break," and I think you'll hear that when I get to the development section, because it's practically on the breaking point. So let's take this sonata movement by movement. And I have to confess, I learned this sonata when I was a student, and those were the days at university where we were gobbling up repertoire and learning as fast as possible, memorizing as fast as possible, trying to play as note perfectly as possible. And frankly, I don't think I went deep enough in those days. I mean, I definitely didn't go behind the notes. And this is the advantage of getting older, because we have the time now and the experience and the knowledge to try and get closer to the composer's intentions and to dig deeper. And so let me share with you my discoveries with this sonata. It's been really a joy to go back to these works and rediscover things that I never saw before. So this is a very unusual first movement because Beethoven opens it with a largo two-measure introduction, and it sounds like a recitative from a Mozart opera. I mean, if you can imagine a harpsichord playing this and then waiting for the singer to sing his recitative. So he starts like this. All in one pedal, and then there's great contrast. Very dramatic chord. Now remember, the sonata is in D minor, but now we're in A major. He started it in A major, and then he goes to C major. Same recitative. And then we're back in D minor. We're finally in the key. And that's our first theme. So what Beethoven has done, he set us up for that first theme. Remember that recitative went like this. A triad, a chord, and that is the theme of the motive of the first theme. Same motive. To the second theme. Okay, but it's amazing. This is what's amazing about Beethoven, what he could do with three notes, and look what he does with just that triad. And then we get to that second theme, which is also dramatic. Recitative motive. In a way, it's a way of him changing keys, getting us to explore all these different areas. So he'll start the so then he explores and this is where I say the piano must break. And then, I remember that from the opening. And one writer called that what did he say? The voice of the tomb. It does sound like it's coming from the dead. And also, Beethoven wants that pedal. So imagine what it would sound like. Let me just give you, these are the decisions we make as performers. But let's say I didn't use pedal. And let's say I played it dryly. Very uninteresting. Now listen, and this is why we have to keep readjusting in a concert hall with every piano we use. It's the acoustics are going to be different. But listen to the atmosphere he creates just by using the pedal. And I use two pedals and I keep vibrating because the harmonies keep changing. Much better. It does sound like it's coming from the tomb, doesn't it? And then remember that from the beginning. And then he'll go back to the C major, 2. And also extend the recitative. And he'll end it on an A flat, but then he'll start the transition back on G sharp, so it's an enharmonic thing. Terrific. This is really one of his most dramatic first movements, and you see how important contrast is in this music. Can you imagine if we played it all one dynamic, how boring it would be? But this first movement is definitely not boring. There's so much there, and that's why I keep practicing, because I keep experimenting, and I never feel close enough. And especially when I record it and have to put it down, so people listen to it over and over again, that's a real responsibility. You want to keep trying to get as close as possible to the composer's intentions. So let me play for you the first movement of the Tempest and give you a rough idea of this wonderful, very ingenious sonata. And also, Beethoven used the 32 piano sonatas as vehicles of experimentations. As I said, he never used filler. I mean, with Beethoven, there was never a formula. Every sonata works with a different idea, a different viewpoint. And you really see the experimentation in this first movement. I mean, he's never done something like this before. Of course he was influenced by the past. I mean, I hear in that opening and the recitatives, I can hear where he must have listened to Mozart operas with a harpsichord in the background. But then look where he goes with that. I mean, then he forges his own pathway. So this is the first movement of the Tempest. first movement, isn't it? And I hope you could follow those themes. I think he clearly brings everything back. And isn't it wonderful the way he uses that recitative motive? It helps him change keys, and it also helps create this wonderful atmosphere. And the contrasts are terrific, aren't they? And in a way, he's utilizing the colors of the instrument with those long pedals. Okay, now we get to the second movement, and you know, it's hard to choose in this sonata which is my favorite movement, because every movement has such dramatic impact. I mean, and the second movement is so substantial. And it's interesting what Beethoven does. So what he'll do when he opens it, he carries out that same recitative. So let's see, we close in this. That's the end of the first. And then what he does is, and I really believe the movement starts here. That is just really an introduction. That's your first theme, and then he'll give you the drums in the background, the snare drums. I always say that Beethoven orchestrates everything in his piano music. So there's the drum, but over that, in a way, there's the sustained brass. And then the second theme, contrasting. Development in this movement. It's very interesting. So he'll go back to that opening theme. And then you'll have to hear what he does with it. So he presents it the same, more or less the same way as the beginning. drums again. So what he does, Beethoven, when he presents the theme the second time, he gives us a variant. All that filigree up and down the keyboard. That's really the accompaniment to the theme. So in a way, he doesn't make us miss the development. I only noticed that the development wasn't gone when I analyzed it, but we don't feel the lack of it. He really builds a very substantial movement, and then the drums will come back, and you have this marvelous coda at the end that really prepares you. The very last note will prepare us for the finale. So let me play for you this complete movement, because it's a movement of such weight, and I mean weight not in terms of loud weight, but just in terms of dramatic weight and content. I just find this movement so very special and so profound, and really a big challenge for the piano. So this is the way we start. We start with that. And he has the dialogue going. finale. But I love that last, and then and that last, which is really the end of the second movement, but you can think of it as a pickup to the last finale. Now, the last movement, unlike the other finales, usually we have a romping finale, Beethoven marks this Allegretto. And it's kind of a perpetual motion. You'll hear the same theme repeated, but underlying that Allegretto, I find there's an element of sadness and nostalgia there. It's not a happy-go-lucky movement at all. I think behind the notes there's much more going on there. So this sonata, as you can see, has a weightiness to it. It's really a very serious work. So let me give you a bit of the finale, and let's give you that last note, and then. Now, when you hear that theme, you might say, "Oh, he's romping through the woods," but there's more to it than that. Played this sonata, and you realize with the piano writing what a virtuoso he was, and what an expressive pianist he was. And I think I quoted in one of my other sonata programs that he was quoted as saying, "Oh, when I listen to my piano music, I get disappointed, especially the way it's played." So we have a terrific something to live up to, because you can imagine how he would have played it. So I'm going to just play this movement for you, because there's a lot of contrast in it. This theme will keep coming back. It's in 3 parts, and it's wonderful virtuosic piano writing, but it's more than that. Underneath it all, there's this sense of profundity, of nostalgia, a bit of sadness, even with this seemingly happy, romping theme, but it's not really that way at all. And it's a delightful way to end a very dramatic sonata. So here is a rough idea of the finale. Actually, it's a challenging movement, technically speaking. Pianistically speaking, he was a terrific pianist, this Beethoven. But you see what I mean about underlying those smiling themes. There's something else there, and this sonata. That's why Beethoven's sonatas are lifelong challenges. But this sonata is a sonata that I want to keep returning to, because I think I'll keep finding more things to share with you. But we do intend to record this next week, so I will let you know when the record comes out. And it won't be on a piano that's this out of tune. I apologize for that, but my piano technician hasn't been here in a long time, and I'm not very good at repairing those out of tune notes. But what's interesting about this sonata, this is Opus 31 number 2, and I did a program on Opus 31 number 3, which was a lighter sonata. Remember I said that was a takeoff on opera buffa, and I imagined these two singers having a go at each other. And it was a totally different mood from this very serious and dramatic Tempest sonata. But that's why Beethoven's music, whether you're listening to his symphonies, his string quartets, his concertos, or his piano sonatas, it's a lifelong pursuit. And every time you listen, you just keep being amazed at the more you'll hear, and astounded by the genius of this man. And who realized, thank goodness he realized, that his mission in life was to leave this music behind for us, to really give us strength, to give us courage during challenging times. I mean, when you think of the courage he had, and never gave up, never gave up on his friends, and was really committed to doing the best he could. And my goodness, aren't we blessed to have the music of Beethoven in our lives? So stay tuned, and I will be back with another Beethoven sonata. I think next time I'm going to give you a late sonata, one of the other ones I will be recording. So please stay safe, stay well, and it's been wonderful chatting with you. Thank you.